I had a question come through on my Instagrams recently asking me, CrossFit or bodybuilding? What's the best type of training for ultimate results? And so I thought I'd jump on YouTube, jump on the podcast, and go into detail answering that question with nothing but my trusty D20, which has nothing to do with this video. I don't know why that's there. Here's the deal. The easy, obvious answer is if you are training to be a professional bodybuilder, then bodybuilding is the best type of training for you. And if you are training to become a competitive professional CrossFit athlete, then CrossFit training is obviously the best for you. But I'm guessing that the vast majority of people watching this or listening to this are neither of those things. So let's reframe the question a little bit, if I may do so, and let's approach it from the point of view of what is the best style of training for most people to achieve results? A bodybuilding focused style of training where your decisions are based upon building as much muscle as possible and getting as lean as possible and presenting your body as an aesthetically pleasing, balanced, well-muscled physique, as opposed to CrossFit, where the style of training is more mixed. You are looking at performance, you are looking at improving your conditioning, your strength, and your skills with complex movements like gymnastics and snatches and clean and jerks and various barbell movements. So that's complicated things, hasn't it? If I had to pick between CrossFit style training or bodybuilding style training, and you weren't allowed to sort of pick and choose and spend a bit of time doing one or the other, for most people, if they wanted to get the ultimate results, I would go with CrossFit. There we go. If you don't watch anything else in the video, then you can just drop into the comments and tell me why I'm wrong, why CrossFit is awful, and why I don't know anything. But if you bear with me for another 5 or 10 minutes, I will try and explain my point of view. There are some caveats to that answer, and I'm pretty confident by the end of the video, you will be on the same page as me, or at least you'll understand where I am coming from. So let's jump in. Why is CrossFit a better approach for getting ultimate results than bodybuilding? Now, we have to put aside people with specific goals. If you are training for a photo shoot, if you are training solely for building muscle or getting leaner, maybe just building muscle actually, then bodybuilding is obviously the best style of training for you. If you love CrossFit, if you go to a CrossFit gym, whether you are a competitive CrossFit athlete or not, then obviously CrossFit is the choice for you. But for the rest of us who find ourselves in the middle, who want to build some muscle, who want to get a bit stronger, who don't want to be out of breath all the time, who want to build a physique that fills them with confidence. You know, you feel comfortable and confident taking your shirt off down the beach. You also feel confident and comfortable doing tough things and playing sports and doing tough exercises. I think a CrossFit style training or a training style that has a foundation in CrossFit is going to be your best bet. The caveat that I would put into that is that I wouldn't spend too much time doing complex movements. One of the best things about CrossFit is that as a style of training, you're ticking multiple boxes. And that's great if you're a competitive athlete and you've got loads of time to practice those exercises and those movements. But for most of us, our opportunities to train across the week are very few. We don't get much time to spend in the gym. We're all busy for whatever reason. We've got family, we've got careers, we've got hobbies, we've got active social lives. And so every minute you spend in the gym is important. And to be a competitive or to be a good CrossFitter, you have to be good at so many different things. And I think a lot of the things that you have to be good at are meaningless for most people. Take something like handstand walks, or take something like gymnastics. Like, it's cool. It looks really cool watching people do handstand walks, especially when they somehow do handstand walks like over an incline and then down a decline, up over a box, up over and down stairs. It's super impressive, but it's also completely meaningless and pointless for the vast majority of people, myself included. And so spending a significant amount of time practicing that is probably not going to give you the best return on your investment. But like I said, most of us want to some degree to be a bit stronger, to be a bit fitter, to build a bit more muscle, and to be a bit leaner. And you can achieve all of those things with a training style that is grounded in a CrossFit approach, a hybrid training approach, where you are doing multiple things. I don't think you can say the same for bodybuilding. Because if you are really following a bodybuilding style of training, then every decision you make in the gym when it comes to your program is about how much muscle is this exercise going to build? And that really is the extent of it. Getting lean is a matter of, for most of us, our diet and our nutrition. So I'm fairly confident that you can get very lean, that you can lose body fat, that you can drop inches off your waist, whatever style of training you want to use, because your diet is going to play the biggest, your diet's going to have the biggest impact on that. But getting strong, getting fit, and building muscle. Bodybuilding does the building muscle part better than any other style of training. And if you just wanted to get stronger, you would probably do powerlifting. If you just wanted to get fitter, then you would pick the domains you want to get fitter in, running, cycling, swimming, and you would just do those things. CrossFit can do each of those to a good standard. Not to a great standard, but to a good standard. And I think it's the one training style that allows you to be a bit of a jack of all trades. And in all honesty, I think that's what most people really want. I think we see images of shredded bodybuilders and we like the look of it, but we don't see the sacrifices that go into that. We don't see the costs. And I think that most of us will probably lean towards something like a CrossFit athlete as an end product, as an ultimate result. The way that they move, the way that they look, I suppose, to an extent, their strength, their fitness, their adaptability, the versatility of being able to do loads of different things, as opposed to being very narrow-minded with our approach. But like I said, there are caveats. I would take a hybrid approach to training, and I think CrossFit fits into that. But I would ditch the gymnastic movements, the complicated handstand walks, anything that is going to take you a significant amount of time to learn how to do and isn't going to have a massive impact over anything else on one of the outcomes: strength, fitness, and building muscle. So let's, for instance, take something like handstand walks. Being able to do a handstand walk is cool, but it's not going to, but once you can do it, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're going to unlock new levels of strength or fitness or muscularity. There are things that you can do that tick all those boxes, and you never have to worry about handstand walks. If we take something like a kipping pull-up. Kipping pull-up, I understand it's a part of the sport of CrossFit, but as far as I can work out for everyone else, other than the fact that it's something that might be fun to learn how to do, there aren't any other real benefits. There are more effective ways, there are more effective exercises for you to build your back muscles and your arm muscles. There are more effective exercises to help you become fitter. And I definitely don't think it's going to help with strength. It's a part of the sport. So, like I said, some gymnastic movements, even some of the barbell movements and some of the odd implements that are cool, if they are complicated and difficult to learn, I would ditch that. But as a general training approach, I think a hybrid approach to training where you are trying to get better at least two areas of fitness that kind of that don't go along with each other, I think that is going to be the best style of training for ultimate results, assuming that you don't have a specific outcome already that you are working towards. And again, if you do have that, then you already know what the best style of training is. It's that sport, whatever it is you're working towards. But CrossFit allows you to, at least in part, balance it. Now, my other recommendation for if you're going to go down the route of taking a hybrid approach to training is not trying to do everything equally all the time. So don't try and equalize the amount of intensity and volume that you put into your fitness and your strength and your muscle building. My way of programming for this style of training would be to look at it like dimmer switches, like dials. And one of those dials you could turn up to 10, but the other dials you're going to have to rein back a little bit. Let's say, for instance, you want to really push your endurance. You can still do some strength work and you can still do some training that is going to help build or at least maintain muscle, but you're probably not going to have a ton of time to do it. If you're going out and doing a lot of running or a lot of cycling, then you're going to have a lot less time in the gym to lift weights. And so the amount of volume that you will be able to accumulate across the week for building muscle, getting stronger, is going to be significantly diminished. And so for a 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 week block, however long it is, you're really pushing your endurance training, you're really pushing your cardiovascular fitness. You're going to want to dial down and dial back the strength work and the muscle building style of work. But the beauty of that approach is you can still hold on to all of your strength and all of your muscle. And then you might go, cool, I've progressed loads in my conditioning work. I'm going to bring that back down to a baseline. I'm going to maybe go on one long run a week and do a couple of like interval sessions at the end of a workout for like a 6-week period. Give my mind a bit of a break from all the condition work I've been doing. Give me a bit more time and energy and bandwidth to put into the other work. And that might be a period of time where you really push the strength work and the building of muscle, the hypertrophy, the bodybuilding style of training. That's, I think, the best type of training for ultimate results. And by ultimate results, I mean the results that the vast majority of us want. I don't think when it comes down to it, most of us really want to feel like a bodybuilder. Because although in the images, in the photos, the videos, they look so impressive, like silly amounts of muscle, super shredded, they don't tend to feel as good as they look. They don't tend to be very functional. When people get shredded and lean for things like photo shoots and step on stage, in many ways they are at their unhealthiest and unfittest because they have gone to such great lengths and made such great sacrifices to look that way for a day or even just for an hour. Whereas with a hybrid approach to training, a more CrossFit style approach to training, you can still get very lean, you can still build muscle. It just might not be quite as much, but it's still going to be an appreciable amount of muscle mass. You look at CrossFit athletes and you look at other athletes that participate in sports that have multiple domains, you look at rugby players, I don't think anyone would look at the average rugby player and say, yeah, they're really scrawny. Like, rugby players have got tons of muscle, but they also have a huge amount of fitness. They've got good levels of mobility. They're obviously very powerful and they've got great strength. And I think that most people would probably like to feel, maybe not immediately after they've just played a game of rugby, but most people I would bet would be pretty happy if all of their training and their diet and nutrition led them to a point where they looked and felt more like a crossfitter or a rugby player as opposed to a bodybuilder. And so that's my stance on that. Bodybuilding's fine. Like you some of your training should be like a bodybuilder. You should take some exercises to failure. You should work your muscles through a big range of movement. You should go at a nice slow tempo. You should do exercises where the intent, the idea, is to build as much muscle as possible or create as much of a stimulus for muscle building as possible. But I think that solely training like a bodybuilder, and I've spoken about this before, is detrimental, or at least it's just not the smartest way to train. And I would say the same about powerlifting. Like some of your exercises with barbells, yeah, you want to be lifting heavy weights. There's awesome things that happen within our body when we build top end strength. But unless you're a competitive powerlifter, you don't need to be just focusing on that. So whether we're calling it CrossFit, whether we're calling it hybrid training, whatever we're calling it, having a blended approach to training for most people is going to give them the best results because you can still get stronger, you can still get fitter, you can still build muscle, and you can still get lean without having to be hyper focused on one specific outcome and neglecting the rest. Like, you don't want to be the powerlifter who can like deadlift 300 kilos but gets out of breath walking upstairs. And I've been there. I've not deadlifted 300 kilos, but I've been out of breath walking up a couple of flights of stairs. You don't want to be the bodybuilder who ends up being super unwell because of the lengths you've gone to with your diet to get as lean as you could. You probably don't want to be the runner who can smash marathons, but then doesn't have any real upper body strength. You don't feel like confident necessarily in how you look, and you never get to appreciate the strength side of things. So that's my take. I've rabbited on for a little bit. What are your thoughts? If you're a CrossFitter, then you're probably on the same page as me. If you're a bodybuilder, then maybe I've struck a nerve, or whatever the phrase is. Let me know in the comments. And if you're not yet and you fancy dropping me a follow, then